happy. Be healthy. Be your best.
So today we're going to dive into one of my favorite subjects. And I got to warn you ahead of time. I will talk about this subject over and over and over again. You'll probably see different slides over and over again in podcasts because this is one of the most important subjects for health. Starting in 1993, I was schooled on how important emotions were. I was certified by Gordon Stokes out of California, Touch for Health. And one of the biggest things that I learned through him is his program was that emotions are one of the top 3 causes of disease. Emotions have a massive impact on the body. We did courses on structural neurology, on emotional dyslexia, and one of the primary goals of that whole course was finding the root cause of different things, and it always went back to emotions. A lot of times it would go all the way back to utero and even go back generational. So it really is a really, really important subject. Fast forward to 2005, and I took courses in Georgia and got my holistic health practitioner certification. And here again, I was taught by my mentor there that one of the top 3 causes of disease is emotions. So for the longest time, people just thought, oh, emotions is just something that you feel. No importance was really given to it. But science and the medical community is starting to realize just how important emotions are. The other thing that you'll learn in the podcast is I absolutely love the ocean. It's one of the places that for me is just my absolute favorite place in the world. For me, emotionally, the ocean is just absolutely fantastic. Riding the tide of emotions affects you every single day for better or for worse. So when the emotions are good, it's like this guy on a surfboard riding that wave and making it all the way to the end and just having a great day because he did. When the emotions aren't so good, in about 2 seconds, he's going to crash and burn, and the outcome's not going to be as joyful. So one of the things that is fascinating that science has learned is that when a baby is forming in the womb, there actually is a cluster of cells that have a lot to do with the neurotransmitters in the body. And those clusters separate, and they separate into the brain and the gut, but they remain connected through life. And that's something that wasn't known a lot of years ago. Recently in science, they've learned that 95% of your serotonin is made in the gut, as well as a lot of the other neurotransmitters that are in the brain that have a direct impact on your emotions, your well-being, how you function during the day. A lot of those are made in the gut, and they are in the brain and the gut. And so there is this communication constantly from the brain to the gut, from the gut to the brain as far as gut feeling. Now, the gut doesn't get to make decisions based on those emotions. The brain is what does the active thinking and makes decisions. But there still is a really, really tight connection between the two that now is giving more and more meaning to the expression gut feeling. A lot of it has to do also with that intuition about something, is a lot of times a communication between the gut and the brain. So let's look into that a little bit more. What happens in the body is you go through stress and you experience an emotion, and the adrenals have a reaction. The adrenals actually use a lot of your trace minerals in order to manage stress and to manage emotions. There was a lady named Candace Pert who discovered that when you have these emotions and the adrenals are stressed out, that the brain releases what's called neuropeptides into the bloodstream. And those go and attach to different organs, glands, and systems in the body and have a negative or positive impact. If the neuropeptide is from like a happy emotion, then it's going to benefit the organ, gland, or system. But if it's from something like anger or jealousy or just a negative experience, then the chemical that's released by the brain that goes and attaches to the receptor site on an organ, gland, or system is going to have a negative impact, making it where either there's a tendency towards inflammation or a tendency towards the area to become tired. So in our office, when we have a special program that's able to differentiate from the person's voice what is out of range on the vagus nerve that's behind the voice box, the larynx. And so when we record their voice, it produces a report, and that report shows what those four areas are where they're in between, for example, on this one, somewhere between anger and accepting change. And then the report goes and shows the negative emotions that they might be experiencing or are having projected onto them from other people, positive ones to think about, a color that is beneficial to the body. Also, we get suggestions that are generated where the person's brain, when we're scanning their voice, actually picks out personalized suggestions for them, which is really, really valuable. So, what we see a lot, these emotions have a big impact on organs, glands, and systems. The second one for this person was somewhere between repetitive thinking and creative thinking. The negative emotions, the positive emotions, they can think about areas of the body that have been heavily impacted by those emotions. Now, in our particular program, it generates tones that they can listen to through earbuds or headphones each day, and it helps to balance the different parts of the brain and get it where some of the effects of these negative emotions get balanced out, which helps their body in general in the different places that have shown up in the reports. For those of you that are listening to the podcasts that perhaps don't come to our office, we can do this particular testing over the phone and generate the tones and the music and send them to you by email. But even if you don't do that, it's just important to recognize how much those emotions that you're experiencing are really affecting the body. Here's another one of the person. They were between fear and confident. The areas being affected, the emotions to think about, and the pictures show the areas of the body that are majorly being affected by those neuropeptides getting released by the brain and attaching to those sites. And last of the four reports for them was somewhere between sadness and inner peace. And here again, a lot of information as to what they can think about as far as positive emotions, consider where the negative ones are playing into their life. You can see here where the gut is pictured. That's the main impact of this particular one. They have suggestions for how to improve it. So the places that get affected a lot by emotions, you have adrenals, stomach, pancreas, liver, small intestine, large intestine, neurotransmitters, also can affect the heart, big impact on the heart. Think about it. Think about somebody who you know has had anger issues their whole life, and they have anger issues, anger issues, anger issues, and they have one more case of rage and they drop dead of a heart attack. Why is that? Every time they've been experiencing that anger during their life, the brain has been releasing neuropeptides that have been attaching to those receptor sites on the heart. That can affect its ability to take in nutrients and to get rid of waste. And so it can eventually affect the actual physical health of the heart. So all of these places can be affected. The gut, with the connection with the brain, can be majorly impacted by emotions. It actually makes it where the adrenals use up all the minerals, and then the stomach can't make acid or pepsin. The pancreas can't make enzymes correctly. And so everything past the stomach suffers from things that start to ferment, not break down properly, and then can even lead in the future to things like leaky gut, just digestive issues. You've heard of GERD, acid problems. All of these can be caused originally by emotion, and then the trickle down effect on the different organs, glands, and systems starts to affect everything. So, what's the goal? The goal is to help people understand that if they can start to balance their emotions, start to recognize the emotions that are affecting their body, start to get where they calm their adrenals down, get it where their body can have better habits that contribute to calming those emotions down. One of them being good eating habits. People today eat way too much junk food, whereas the body needs minerals in order to function. So if they're having emotions that are depleting the minerals, then they need to use good supplementation and a good diet in order to put back into the body what is needed that's being depleted by those emotions. So I hope this helps you understand a little bit more of that emotions are not just something that just affects how you feel for the day. Emotions have a big trickle down effect in the body. Emotions end up depleting minerals. Emotions end up with the adrenals using the lion's share of minerals and affecting all the other 9 body systems. And so this is something that we'll delve into more in the future, but I wanted you to have this introductory course on emotions so you'll start to lay a foundation for better emotions and for understanding it more in the future.
Be healthy, be your best. Be your best. Be happy.